The Fault is of the Poor by American author Jorge Majfud. In 1758, the governor of South Carolina, James Glenn, acknowledged in a letter to his successor, quote, "It has always been the policy of this government to create an aversion in them to Indians, to Negroes." Unquote. In previous generations, racism had not reached a sufficient level of hatred to prevent Indians, blacks, and poor whites from joining together for work, intimacy, and, above all, to rebel against the power of the powerful. The fault of violence was of the poor. Today, two of the world's most lucrative businesses are drug trafficking and arms sales. Because drug production is in poor countries and consumption in rich countries, the blame for violence is on the producers, that is, on the poor. Because the production of weapons is in rich countries and consumption in poor countries, the fault of the violence is on the consumers, that is, the poor. When the economy in rich countries thrives, the poor are the only ones to blame for their own poverty, as if the world were flat and everyone had the same opportunities. When the economy in rich countries stagnates or recedes, then the poor are to blame for the fact that others do not have jobs, especially if they are poor immigrants. The fault is always of the poor. The Statue of Liberty of New York received millions of immigrants, Europeans, without visas or passports, with the verses, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me." However, now, according to the laws in rich countries, if someone is rich, a visa or a permanent residence is almost guaranteed. If someone is poor and his flag is work, he or she will be automatically blocked from entering rich countries. In fact, the single word working at any consulate in the world is the first key that turns on all the alarms and closes the doors to an honest worker. Because a world obsessed with growth, where capital produces more capital, does not believe that labor can produce more labor. Because money is freer than human beings, and a human being without money is not free, but a slave. To justify this global apartheid, we no longer resort to the concept of race, but that of nations, and we confuse legality with legitimacy, as if the laws were not the expression of the conveniences of the power of the day, as if the laws were not often elegant ways to legalize the corruption of power. Even the best laws are often unfair, especially with those who are not in power. As an example, the French novelist Anatole France made a remark 100 years ago, quote, "In its majestic equality, the law forbids rich and poor alike to sleep under bridges, beg in the streets, and steal loaves of bread," unquote. Because the fault is always of the poor.